So we have just a little bonus surprise tonight. We've all been asking each other, what is going on with the bail reform? All we see is the horrible continuing news. And we put together information and said, who can we get to give us a 5-minute talk and update, because we did have that covered in our legislature this year. So Michael Kubosh is going to tell us about it.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. You know, my daddy told me that, he told me that it's not what you know, it's really not even who you know, it's who knows you. And about 15 years ago, I didn't really know any of you, and you certainly didn't know me. But you have to get active in the party, and you have to be active in what you're doing. I ran as an outsider in the city of Houston, and I'm sorry that none of you that probably live in Houston, you couldn't vote for me, but thank God you couldn't vote against me either, you know. So I learned that it's, you know, I was an outsider, and I said, you know, put me on the inside, and I'll tell you what's really going on at City Hall. And whenever the mayor had this woman working for him that was making her money on the HTV program, I kept pushing until she lost her job and she got indicted. And you just have to keep pushing. I'm not going to go alone to get along. It's not in my DNA. I can't do it. So I'm going to stand up for what's right. And I think this one wants the feedback. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in the bail industry. For those of you that don't know, I've been in the bail bonding business for 28 years. And right now, I want to tell you that the bail industry has changed unbelievably. The federal judge, Lee Rosenthal, had a directive, an order, and she ruled that the bail schedule in Harris County was unconstitutional. And she wanted all of these low-level criminals, these misdemeanor folks, to get out on free bail and to get them out within 24 hours. Now, let me tell you something. If you're in jail on a $500 bond that will only cost you $50 for somebody to pay a bondsman to get you out, let me tell you why you're in jail. You've burned every bridge with every family member you have. You've burned bridges with your employer and with everybody that knows you. And that's why you're there, and I think you need to stay there until you learn. But nonetheless, she wanted them all out. Now, then they had, all this occurred during the administration whenever Ed Emmett was the county judge. But after Ed Emmett left and Rodney Ellis became the head of the county, along with Lena Hidalgo, they got together and they got a settlement agreement with Soros's lawyers, as you well know, to settle this thing. And we have spent, we settled, and it's cost the county $100 million or more, along with 150 people have lost their lives to people who've been let out on these free bonds. And this is a tragedy. Now, the Fifth Circuit should have done something a long time ago, but they keep reversing the judge, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back. And for those of you that are lawyers, you understand how this works. The average citizen has no clue about what's really going on. That's why you've invited me up here. Did I do something wrong? Okay. And what happened was that this consent decree, if you read it, you'll be right back where you are before I spoke. You don't know what's going on. It's just so long and lengthy. You have the consent decree being revoked. You have O'Donnell being dismissed. The whole thing gets convoluted to the average person. But by and large, how does it affect the safety and security of the people in Houston and Harris County? Let me tell you how it does it. It doesn't have any effect on it at all. Crime's going to continue. Why? Because the judges still have discretion to do whatever they want to on bail. And the legislature can't tell a judge what to do, just like the legislature can't tell the sheriff what to do or the governor. It's amazing how this thing works. When I first went to school, they told me there was the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branch of government. Since I've been in office for 8 years, let me tell you, there's another branch. It's called the bureaucratic branch. And these are the folks I have problems with every day. It's hard to get through those, and politicians like to hide themselves behind it. They like to say, I can't do anything. Well, these judges have blamed them letting people out on bail, low bail or no bail, on the fact that the federal judge had a consent decree, and it's been agreed to, so they just let them out. Well, let me tell you, folks, the streets of Houston aren't safe. And it worries, it should worry you, it concerns me. This isn't about making our cities safer or our county safer. It's about Soros getting his way and destroying our country and our city. Think about the number of people that have died. I came up with a plan. I told my brother Randy, I said, listen, in about a week, I'm going to have talked to Crime Stoppers, Andy Kahn, the victim's advocate, and I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm going to call a press conference. If you want to join me, you can. Any of you want to join me? And I'm going to call a press conference, and I'm going to ask for the victims of this murders and rapes and armed robberies to contact me. I'll put my number out there, my cell phone. And I'm going to tell them, you contact me, and we'll file a judicial grievance on every one of these judges. Why? Because let me tell you what happens when you file a grievance on a lawyer. There's lawyers in this room. You make chills up and down your spine when I said that, didn't it? Now, let me tell you, whether or not it has any value or not, the fact that you drop that paper bomb on them is going to cost them a lot of money and time. And these judges will panic when they hear what I'm going to do. Let me tell you, I'm not here to make friends with those folks downtown. And I sat on the same dais with Mayor Turner. Mayor Turner got so mad at me one day, he took his mask off and he says, council member, you ran as an outsider, but you're an insider now. And I calmly waited until he got his fume over, and I said, Mayor, if I'm an outsider, I'm on the outside of the inside. Folks, we have to stand up for what's right. We can't allow this to continue on. We've got to get rid of those judges. That's how we fix it. Don't expect it, all this to come from the Fifth Circuit. We got to do it here. We got to vote them out. Daddy told me if I was going to be a politician, he said, boy, stand up so people can see you, speak up so people can hear you, and shut up so people will like you. God bless you.
I told you we were going to have a surprise. Thank you so much. That's great information, and we're going to be watching you to see when you drop these bombs.
You're going to drop a bomb.
Wonderful. I have two quick things. Gail, you were going to mention something about the propositions that the SREC has put together that will be on the ballot. And while she's getting that, Alexi Swirsky is here representing. Okay. Thank you. And she was also going to mention that we're working hard to still try to get a fourth session to deal with
the vaccine mandate, I hope.
Vaccine mandate, for one, yes. And what was the other one?
Child gender modification?
Sure.
Over around 25 representatives, starting back in November, have requested a fourth session officially to deal with vaccine, get a ban on vaccine mandates, but then also some other topics of interest would be a ban on child mutilation in the name of transgender, and some election law tweaks, and also Valerie Swanson did a fantastic job, I can tell you, of getting no males in girls sports K through 12 passed, and we need the same thing passed for college. Can I talk about the court ruling last week?
Thank you very much. And Gail?
So I passed out, and I told each one of you, hopefully that you have that. Those of you that did miss getting up, because I did run out with this crowd, if you want to email me, I'll be glad to email you one so that you can share it with your friends as well. This is your opportunity to tell the Republican Party and the legislators in Austin, all 181, thank you, because it's the senators too, not just the representatives.
Very good.
What you want to be done, and the things that they didn't get done this time, we need for them to know that you've got their back.
Thank you, Gail. So those will be on the ballot, so be watching for them. And Sharon, you want to start our program, and we will start with the State Board of Education District 6.
Thank you. Before we start that, we're going to have some brief reports. And one is a reminder, we had a great Christmas party. And we wish all of you could have been there. It was really quite the success at Northgate Country Club. Everybody seemed to have a great time. It was a gorgeous facility. And we had surf and turf. And some people say that the steak was the best they've ever had at a restaurant. And we had all the desserts you wanted to eat. We just had a smorgasbord of desserts. So we hope that you'll be there next time. And now, Kristen, do you have a report for membership? Kristen Cobb? Is she there? Yes. Do you have no report? Okay. And we will have a report from the treasurer. Do you have anything special, Dean? We're going to do the budget next month. Okay, that's fine. And now we are going to have the candidates for the State Board of Education. Please come forward. Yes, yes. And when the way we're going to arrange this is when a candidate starts to speak, we would like the candidate to say their name each time so that people start to associate who they are, get to know them, and then each candidate will have 3 minutes, and we will have a timer.
And Kathy will be the timer. Yes. And they will have 3 minutes each. And there are little cards on your tables. If you have a question, please write your question to that group of candidates that's speaking. And hold your card up, and someone will come and pick it up. And Sharon will decide which 2 questions to use.
Okay. All right. Will, come forward.
Okay. Starting now. Thank you. My name is Will Hickman. I'm currently serving you on State Board of Education District 6, which is west and northwest Harris County, also up now including Woodlands and Conroe. Just a quick Houston story. I've actually eaten in this restaurant before. I went to Greenwood Forest right across the road, and we would come here after going to John Wesley Methodist. Lived all over the world, went to Texas A&M, got 2 engineering degrees. I was a high jumper. Met my wife there, was probably the best thing I did. We moved to Houston, got married, lived in Bel Air. I was in Bel Air about 20 years. She went to med school. I was working at Exxon. I went to law school at night, and later got an LLM and a Spanish degree back at U of H a couple years ago. So if you're keeping track, that's 5 degrees. And over the years, we've had 3 kids. We moved to Spring Branch. We love the schools there. We've got 3 kids in public schools in Spring Branch. A Little League coach, I coach basketball. I'm a deacon at Tallowood Baptist Church, a Sunday school teacher, PTA officer, involved in the HOA and the rodeo, international committee. Politically involved in Bel Air, I was a councilman for 6 years, with Cindy Siegel was my mayor back then. A lot of you know her. Been a precinct chair, involved in a number of Republican clubs, electoral college, treasurer of PAC, worked on campaigns, and I was quietly serving as general counsel for Harris County Republican Party. And then Donna called me and said, you need to run for State Board of Education. So here we are. Been in office 2 years now. A lot of things we do on the State Board of Education with curriculum standards, science, climate alarmism, health textbooks, parent choice. I just won the Charter Champion Award from the Charter School Association. But basically, it's a big legal job. I'm an attorney. I'm the only attorney on the board. Last meeting, we had an 800-page agenda. I read every page. I mark it up. We had 50 CTE courses, which are career and technical education. So it's a lot of, it's a big job. We don't get paid anything. I put my resume, experience, and work on the board forward to you, the voter, to hire me or hire someone else. My wife would love it if you sent me back home. But I'm putting my name forward, happy to continue serving, happy to take any questions. I'm not sure the format. So if you'd like to learn more, willhickmancampaign.com, or I'm on Facebook. Reach out, email, phone, however you want to reach me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and now Mr. Wolf.
Use this microphone. Hi, I'm Mike Wolf. Is this better? All right. Well, about a month ago, first of all, Mike Wolf, about a month ago, I filed for State Board of Education after, up till about a year ago, serving y'all for a total of 12 years on the Harris County Board of Education, where I worked with Senator Paul Bettencourt to abolish that over the years. And should I be elected to the State Board of Education, I will continue that crusade to abolish the Harris County Department of Education. But the minute that I filed a month ago and started emailing and calling people to tell them what I had done, I was surprised. I started getting people thanking me. Terry Leo, former State Board of Education member for this district, immediately texted me and called me and said she was supporting me because we need somebody that's going to drag the other members of that board to the right decisions, not somebody that leadership in the local Republican Party has to drag to the right decisions. I'm not going to vote just to go along to get along. There were 3 Republican members of that board that voted against all of the health textbooks, and that's what I would do along with some of the other candidates running for the State Board of Education this year. I don't think we need to vote for education books that encourage 4th graders to learn masturbation and things like that, and that's some of the things that have gone on the state board this year. I believe that we need somebody that has a proven track record for conservative causes, and that's exactly what I've got. I'm a native Houstonian, graduated from University of St. Thomas with a degree in political science, focus on public administration. Got a master's certificate in health administration from Houston Baptist University. I'm a longtime member of Second Baptist Church. My pastor, Ed Young, recently prayed with me as I started this campaign, and I would ask for your vote. starting February 14th, or vote by mail. And of course, the election is on March the 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the table, we have sheets for you to pick up. You can write your notes about our candidates. You see, our club, our purpose is to help Republicans get elected. It's to promote conservative values. That's what we're here for. We're here to support these candidates, and we thank you very much for showing up. And right now, we are going to have the candidates for county judge come forward. Are there questions for the candidates for the school board? Anybody have any questions? Yes, you have a question? Okay, Joan? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. First, if I can just talk about health for 1 second. We did not approve a 4th grade textbook. The only textbook we approved was 6th to 12th grade. And I just did an interview with Doc Green Radio, and it's on YouTube. You can see the full explanation of why I voted for the textbook I voted for, so you can better understand that issue. In terms of CRT, I just had a great meeting with Steve Toth, 3979. He has outlawed CRT, and he's endorsed me. We have no CRT in the TEKS, which are the standards. Where the problem comes in the curriculum and the teachers in the classroom, and I'm working with ISDs I supported. We got 2 conservatives on HISD. We've got a conservative on Spring Branch ISD. 3 just got elected to Cy-Fair ISD. So we, the parents, are now awake. I was the tutor and I was the IT help at my house with my 3 kids. We all saw what's being taught, so yes, it's being taught in Texas. We, the parents, are awake. We need to now show up at the ISDs and hold the teachers and principals accountable for what they're teaching in our schools.
Thank you. And now, Michael, would you like to answer that also?
Well, in regards to critical race theory, it's my understanding that this fall at the Village Republican Women, my opponent stood up and said you can either have a little CRT or a lot of CRT. And if that's the case, I know that State Republican Executive Committee woman Deborah Gelting Fight apparently got up at that meeting and said, what about no CRT? So that's where I stand. We have to outlaw critical race theory at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, Will?
Thank you, Representative Swanson. Yes, I spoke at Village Republican Women. I was invited there to speak on CRT. I'm an attorney, and I did my due diligence, and the request was, teach us what is CRT. So I was teaching what is CRT, but let me say clearly now, and as I did then, I'm 100% against it. It's a form of racism. Any form of racism, even if you think it's for a good purpose, in my view, should not be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Absolutely. I would love to hear from, I'm a parent. I hear from a number of parents in Spring Branch where we live and other areas where I've kind of spent more time. But if there's areas I'm not in touch with the parents and you can help with that, I would love to hear from any and all parents. I feel like I'm there as the voice of the parents. There's lots of educators on the board, and they say educators are well represented. We do all work well together, but I think the parents have a different perspective of what they need out of Texas education.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes, absolutely. That's part of the reason I'm running, because I don't believe parents do have a voice. I've got two nieces, ages 14 and 8. In fact, 15 years ago this month, somewhere along there, I brought my niece Lauren to her first meeting of the Texas Tea Party Republican Women, and many of y'all got to know her then. Right now, both my nieces are in schools in Montgomery County within the district. So that's very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the county judge candidates. Okay. Warren Howell. Is it Warren Howell? Okay. Yes. I'll have you go first.
Thank you. I'm on the timer. I'm a 71-year-old native of Houston in Harris County. I've been in business here for 50 years. I've done construction, real estate development. I'm a professional risk manager. Oh, here, is that better? Okay. I own an insurance company, and I'm not looking for a job, but this is the job of Harris County. You know, the label Harris County judge is so misleading. It's not a judicial post. It's a management post. And these folks haven't been managed for 4 years. They haven't. and when I look at these redistricting, this is Rodney Ellis's redistricting map. This guy's a crook. Okay? There's just no other way to describe it. So that's what we're up against. Now, when you talk about crime, I was playing golf with a friend of mine the other day that's a police officer, and I said, Gary, what's your take on things? He said, well, simple. They quit the academy for about 4 or 5 years in the 90s. So all these people now are retiring 20 years later. There's no one coming up to replace them. And then I'm tired of rearresting people out on bond. And I said, so he always looks depressed. He does, and he's just not happy. Anyway, to make a long story short, these judges also, it's like a perfect storm. They quit training police officers, then here comes COVID, and the judges go home. No cases being tried. The backlog, 4 or 5 years? Is there a way, Michael, to get the bonds limited on time instead of being indefinite?
Get rid of the judge.
Well, okay. But, in the meantime, we have got to get judges that will hear cases. So, and we've got to hire more officers. The money is there to hire them. It's not an issue. It's not a funding problem. But we'll need more jail space if we could get the bonds to be commensurate of the charges. Now, capital murder, what should the bond be?
0.
Right. Thank you. He's not a plug. I didn't call him before I got here. Anyway, if everyone goes to my website, warrenhowell.info, you'll see all my issues, and you will not just see what I'm saying about the issues, you'll see what I want to do to fix it, okay? I want to change the bonding. I want to get some judges going. I want to build more jails, use these dormant commercial projects that are just sitting there vacant, make them into temporary jails, do what we can to get the crooks off the street, because they're going to keep doing what they're doing because they don't think there's any consequences. That's it? That's it? Vote for me. I appreciate your support.
Thank you so much. Randy?
How you doing? You got one of those papers? Yeah. You got it back there? All right. Hopefully, I'm Randy Kubosh, and I'm your candidate for Harris County Judge. And this is the flyer. It may be on your desk, on your table, and you can see this is going to be in the link letter with Terry Lowry. And on it, it has my contract with Harris County. You can read it on this page, and on the other page is a little bit about my brother Michael Kubosh and myself. And so I want to tell you that there are a couple of candidates in my race. They're being supported by Republicans and Christian conservatives, and two of them have. One of them particularly has. They have contributed financially to Obama in their second term, and another one, they have contributed to numerous Democratic candidates. But worst of all, they've contributed to Act Blue Texas. Now, I want to tell you that is the abortion arm of the Democratic Party. The abortion arm. That is funding abortion. Now I got the Republican Party of Texas platform up here, and I want to let you know that I support the Republican Party of Texas platform. These SRECs and all these people, precinct chairs, all these people go to the convention, and they do it for a purpose. And now this thing is exhaustive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's pretty exhaustive. I've read it a number of times, but I pledge to all of you right now that I will follow the Republican Party of Texas platform as a candidate and when I'm county judge. Now, I want to tell you that will not be hard for me, because that is who I am. That's what I believe. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-family. I believe in traditional values of marriage, the biblical story of marriage. That's what I believe in. I agree with Mr. Howell, said the crime is bad. It's real bad. Now, a lot of people feel like the county judge position is a road and bridge position. Well, I have over 25 years of engineering experience. I used to design chemical plants and refineries. And after I did that, I worked with my brothers in the bail bonding business, and I was in every courtroom every week, every criminal courtroom. I know what is broke, and I know how to fix it, because I'm particularly have the expertise to fix it. I know when something's failed. I know how to fix this failed system. Thank you very much. I'm Randy Kubosh, your candidate for Harris County Judge.
Thank you so much. Oscar Gonzalez?
Good evening, everybody. I don't know if I should use this one. Okay, I'll do this one. I'm Oscar Gonzalez. I don't have any backing. I'm just here. I am just like you, okay? Let me tell you what I've done. I started at the Sheriff's Department in 1988, and I retired in 2018. I wanted to stay longer, but the politics infected the bottom. I chose not to rise up in the Sheriff's Department because I wanted to have a life. I know these guys from the courtrooms. I worked in every courtroom, every jail, with all these judges, all these fine lawyers. I worked with criminals, killers, everybody else. And I retired hoping to go on out and just enjoy my time with the wife and the kids and everything else. But these people have called me back into service. I took an oath of office, and there was no expiration date on that oath at all. And I stand before you ready to serve you once again, because these people, they're going to make a mess of our home. And the wife, she really spurred me on to do this. She said, you know what, we got to do something, because the way we was raised is that you're supposed to be quiet, don't say nothing, let it go, it's going to go away. Anybody else raised like that too? Okay, that's how we were raised. That does not work, okay, at all. So we're taking a stand. And so therefore, I've chosen, with the blessing of the wife, of course, because I got a mind, right, Stan? That we're going to come up here and do this. So, I work for the Sheriff's Department. Before that, I was a DJ. That's why I talk good on this microphone. We bake cakes. We rescue kittens and cats and wild animals that come into the yard. We got 2 boys. I lift weights. We work out. We ride bikes. We're car enthusiasts, motorcycle enthusiasts, truck enthusiasts. We DJ car shows. And we just love to live, and we love good people, and I love to see good people succeed. So even if I don't make it past the primaries, I want everybody to go out there and inspire everybody else that they can reach to go out and get to the polls and vote for somebody. And whoever makes it through this primary, be it this buddy of mine here or those guys back there that I don't know as well as I know this guy, go out there and support them, because I told all these people, if I don't make it, I'm going to ask everybody I know to go to the polls and support you in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Such wonderful people. Okay, Robert, Doris?
Okay. Hey, everybody. I got the chance to speak to a lot of you earlier, so hope everything went well when you spoke to me. I'm Robert Doris, and I want you to know one thing. I'm the back-to-back geography champ at my elementary school. The other thing I want you to know, I got to speak to a lot of you. I don't know how many of you got this card. Oh. Okay. I like that joke. I got some more dad jokes if you want. You look at the card. I just want to leave you alone. That's all it is. We talked about what this position is. It has become over-politicized. It's a simple job everyone knows. It's roads and bridges. It's construction projects. It's making sure we take care of each other whenever there's an emergency. Making sure the money is being spent the way it needs to be spent, and that's it. I'm not a big rah-rah guy. I'm not going to throw a bunch of shouting, talking points at you, but I'm going to try to paint a picture for you real quick about who I am and what I've done. And hopefully this will give you a good idea. I was born and raised here in Spring Tomball area. Oldest of 7, got 5 sisters and a brother. I coached baseball at Spring Klein for about 6 years. I got to coach my brother for a little bit. Coached football at AAYF. It was a lot of fun. I grew up in construction, wired a ton of HEBs and hotels around here. Last project I did was about 10 years ago. Was Hilton Garden Inn over at 290 and Beltway 8. Doing that, I got into architecture, loved it. Went to Texas Tech, graduated with degrees in architecture and business. Came back home, started working in architecture, fell victim to the recession like so many others. Changed careers, didn't have a choice. Got back in construction for a little bit, wound up in manufacturing for about a year and a half. After that, had the opportunity to get back into construction architecture. Had a $90,000 piece of paper. I was like, I better use the hell out of this thing. Realized there's no money, so then I changed careers into marketing manager. I've done that for 10 years. It's been very successful. I've dealt with large budgets. I've dealt with projects. I know how to handle money, tons and tons of money. I've had a good life, but I've been to hell and back, like so many others. If you look on the back of the card, if you've got it, you can see a quick description. I grew up in a half-finished house. Got laid off. I've been burglarized. My house flooded in Harvey. It was not great. Sorry about that. Why is that important? I know how to work with people from any background. I know how to speak to everybody from every background, oil and gas. chemicals, anything. I can talk to y'all, talk shop about anything's out there. And we're going to need that. We're going to need somebody who can reach across because, look, let's face it, it's a blue county, and we need somebody that can speak to everybody else that's out there. Otherwise, we're going to get swept up. I don't have that much time. I wanted to show y'all a tweet, but I'll leave that out there. I'm just real quick. I want you to visualize what you would do if you lost your loved one or anyone in your family. I know for me it gets pretty dark. If you look on the back of that card, that little guy right there is why I got into this. And there's plenty of stuff I can tell you about the problems that are going on in this county and how we're going to solve them. I'd love to answer more of your questions about it. I've got some pretty good ideas. Maybe some of you agree with, maybe you don't. But I'm Robert Doris. Vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Hector? Hector Bolanos. It's a pleasure.
Hi, how's everybody doing this evening? You know, today I came and I was a little nervous. I was like a little nervous. Oh, I was expecting not many people to come out. It's cold out there. It's cold out there. You know, right now they're saying we're the underdogs. And of course, you come out and I see a lot of people out here. And I was a little nervous, so I made a little prayer. And I said, hopefully they can listen to me today. And once I came inside, I saw how beautiful you guys are. And this party is the beautiful party. You guys are one of the funnest parties there in this time. So today I wanted to talk about the women's group. And the best way to actually speak about women is just to give you, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit of a story of mine when I was in college. When I was in college, I used to work at Klein Bank. Klein Bank was a small regional bank out here, and they had probably about 20 branches at that time. John Klein was the president and the owner of Klein Bank. And their whole motto was, he used to say, deep roots make strong branches. And when I started working there, it was fairly neat because they gave me an opportunity. And what I noticed about their branches, it was all run by women, all the branches. Any issues that we had, they'll call the women. The women were the ones that made sure everything balanced. The Fed incomes were coming in. They made sure Kroger's fixed deposits were done properly. If the bank was robbed, they were the first women that were there. And John Klein used to stay at the branch over here in Student Airline. Never come out. You'll never see him. Anytime there was an issue, the women would take care of it. And during the holidays, I remember the women were the only ones that were recognized in our branch. They all brought these beautiful flowers for them. And I remember my branch manager, Stacy Handy. I won't forget her. She was a wonderful person that actually made us all feel like a group. Even though we're different, we're very diverse. But in the branch, you felt welcome. And later on, John Klein decided to sell his bank. So he went out there and he sold it to Amity Bank. And if I had an opportunity to talk to John Klein today, I'll say it wasn't your deep roots, it was your strong branches that actually got you there. And what I ask you today, ladies, is to be my strong branches to get me to the top of Harris County. But today I noticed all these wonderful individuals that came out here and they talked. They put their businesses to the side, whatever they're doing, and they said, hey, it's time to do something. And I see so many people running for Harris County Judge at this time. And I just want to say good luck, because at the same time, whoever wins, all of our support should be with that individual, because we're going to need it. To beat Spending Lena and Fixture Garcia, those are the names we have, and Aunt Lita Jackson, well, I don't know, Aunt Jackson, we need the group to actually get them out. And unfortunately, today's society, the group we have today, the Victim Society, it's going to be very, very tough. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good. Is Alexandra here? Okay.
All right, good evening. Thank you for giving us all an opportunity to introduce ourselves. Just like to provide a brief background. So I started my career at West Point. I joined the military right after 9/11. Thought I was going to be an Army lawyer or JAG. At that time, with the war on terror, IEDs were the big threat. So I decided to go EOD, or Army Bomb Squad. While in Afghanistan, appreciate it. Appreciate it, Michael. No. And so, yeah, first few months, very traditional combat role. Took apart IEDs, but more importantly, managed teams. Big part of this role really is emergency management. It is a very rapid response. Afghanistan as well is not a place you can drive across. So it is more of the intel role of trying to figure out how do I strategically position these very limited resources most effectively, and also understanding when do we need engineers, which are very good at just blowing things up, or EOD, or Army Bomb Squad, which is very good in terms of protection of personnel and property. After doing a few months in a traditional combat role, went to a very different role, which I would describe, unfortunately for me, as very administrative. So I took over our headquarters company in Afghanistan, roughly 600 to 800 people that were under my command, a lot of them colonels, very senior. It's kind of the last place that a young captain wants to be. And when I inherited that company, it looked a lot like the scenes of chaos we saw on TV this year. Just utter disorganization. I found, bolt cutters opening connexes full of NVGs, so night vision goggles, lost rifles, just unaccounted for equipment, because for 12 years people recklessly spent the taxpayers' dollars and no one accounted for it. So I thought I was going over to Afghanistan to do this very specialty job that I trained for, and did that for the first few months, but really almost turned into this logistical nightmare role of trying to get the right equipment to the right people, because we had people, National Guard, using this Vietnam-era equipment because, frankly, people were too lazy to take care of the gear we had. The other issue that I encountered, and I think this is very relevant to Harris County Judge, is I had a lot of people that needed to be fired. Yep. So if you think about our county administrator or election administrator, those could be some obvious targets. Yes. So as a young captain, I had a first sergeant who, unfortunately, because he was a minority, people did not want to address the performance issues. So I had to volunteer to resign my command, and threatened to basically volunteer to go home to get them to do an investigation. It took a 3-star general to approve him being fired. But when they did an investigation, there was enough warrant, and he was kicked out of the Army before he could get his retirement. And that had a dramatic shift on the organization, and learned a lot about the power of addition by subtraction, which is what we need. We need to lower property taxes now, and we need to invest in what our government should be doing. That's flood, bridge, infrastructure, and law enforcement. And proud to announce yesterday that I have Steve Raddick's endorsement for trying to restore our county government to what we had for 30 years.
Thank you very much. Is George Zos here? Did he not arrive yet? Okay, now we'll have questions. Who has a question for one of our candidates? Anybody? No questions? Yes. Oh, you're just waving. Okay. What a wonderful collection of intellect and ability we have here. I wish we could elect all of them. The enthusiasm, it's just wonderful. And please, for everybody that's here, help these candidates. You can get their information, I'm sure, from the Republican national, our local Republican office. And work for the county, work for the Republican Party. Help these candidates over the line so that we don't have to continue with the way it's been. Yes, we want everybody to stay involved. These are just tremendous candidates. Can I ask a question? Yes. For all the candidates, why do you think you're qualified to be Hildongo? Why
So I think if you think about what the key function or key job of the county judge is, this is an executive position. There's a lot of great legislators out this, but this is really asking who can manage a very large and complex budget. I've been in oil and gas investment banking for 6 years. And then it's also, if you think about at Emmett, hunker down, who can lead in a crisis, emergency management. And that's what I did for 5 years in the Army Bomb Squad.
So I'm going to harken back to my background. I think the experience I've had within construction, literally since I was 8 years old, going into architecture, then going into dealing with oil and gas companies, petrochem companies, working in marketing, and then also just how I grew up, right? I went from having everything to absolutely nothing. And we have to be able to not only connect with us, we got ourselves fired up, we're ready to go, but we've got to be able to talk to everybody else on the other side as well and say, listen, I understand what you're going through. I know exactly what it's like. Because if we don't have that just little bit of connection, they're just going to blow us off, and we'll get swept under the rug for it. And on top of that, I've dealt with the budgets, right? I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. I've been in multiple crises at my past job, especially during Harvey, putting out tons of generators and HVAC equipment firsthand, putting it out there, spending 73 hours, never sleeping, putting that stuff together. So I understand what it's like to manage things like that. Thank you. Oh, well, I think everyone can do it, and then, go ahead. So you want to know how it is I think I'm going to be at Hidalgo? Well, you had a so I'll address it real quick. So I guess as an extension to what, because I understand what she was saying and what you're asking. You need somebody who's got an assassin's mindset, right? I'm nice to everybody out here, but I'm one of the meaner people you're going to meet. And I'll take that all the way through. I will hold no punches. I don't think anybody else here will either, but I think I can do it better than most. That's the easiest way to say it. Like I mentioned before, think about what happens if you lost your loved one, right? If it's not gut-wrenching to you, then something's wrong. And it's obviously not gut-wrenching to her because we've lost over 500 people to criminals that shouldn't be back out on the streets. It gets dark, and I think about it, it gets dark. I don't think you guys want to know what I would do. But I think everybody else who has loved ones would do the same thing. And you got to be able to take that message and communicate that to everybody else. It's going to be communication, communication, communication. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The way you beat Hidalgo is pretty simple. You have to be the exact opposite of what she is on every issue. She wants you to wear a mask. I don't want you to wear a mask. I know what they do. They do nothing. She wants you to have a vaccine. I've got my wife over here at the doctor. She'll talk to you for hours on how not to take the vaccine. She wants to keep the budget the same or grow it. I want to lower the budget and lower our taxes. Right on down the line, you have to be the exact opposite. And it's really not that hard because I am.
We have to recognize that Hidalgo is one of the most popular county judges in a very long time. She has given a lot of funds to a lot of individuals. And a lot of people are getting accustomed to it. Rental incentives. And an individual like that, you can't actually run an economy that way. And you're seeing it a lot. In my line of work, I'm a real estate appraiser. And my job is to do mortgage securities. Pretty much every signature that I have is pretty much going to secure a mortgage security. Now, today, what is a mortgage security? That's one of our major indicators for our retirement plans. For every aspect of investments, the bankers will have it. And as of today, now with these low rates, they're getting more riskier and more riskier. I'll give you something that will scare you. One thing is, right now with the health crisis, if you close on your mortgage right now, you could just call your loan servicer and tell them, I've been affected by COVID. That moment right there you have a forbearance of 12 months. You don't have to pay your mortgage. Servicers right now are telling people, God, they close on the house and they don't have to pay. But because there's a moratorium, I cannot foreclose on you. So imagine your mortgage securities right now, all your investments right now. And once they decide to remove the moratorium, there's going to be a lot of issues we're going to have. And you also have an individual that just wants to give the money out. But eventually somebody has to pay the piper, and it will have to come. As a real estate appraiser, we're pretty much the individuals that you don't see. You see the system, but we're the individuals that actually go out to the job sites, and we see the communities every day. We see the changes of each community, and we see the flooding issues. We see where most of you have the hidden environmental hazards around. We see where everything's at because we have to report it to these security owners that require us to report it. Knowing each county, each sector of the city, and knowing what issues they have will make me an ideal candidate for your vote. However, any of these gentlemen, I think, will do a wonderful job, but we do need the votes of those other groups. And you do have to be able to sell them, because it's going to be very difficult to sell people when their mortgages are being paid, when the rents are being paid, and so on.
Well, I'm going to answer that. The question was, how am I going to beat Lena Hidalgo? And the way I can beat Lena Hidalgo is the Kubosh name. Kubosh, K-U-B-O-S-H. It's an easy name. I was blessed with it. It wasn't a hard name. And I also want to tell you that my brother Michael has won citywide in the last 3 elections. The last 3 citywide, he's elected at large, the whole city, and you know the city is Democratic. My brother he's got the most votes each time he set a record, because when Paul Betancourt called Mike and I was sitting in the car, he said, Kubosh's name has great crossover appeal.
Time and time again, okay? So it is up to all of us in this room and everybody that's not in this room. Y'all need to do your research, look at my background, look at his background, everybody back there. Listen to what you heard, because we can tell you anything, but the proof's in the pudding, okay? So y'all do your research, and and you pick the best candidate that you feel will do the job the way you want it done, okay? I'm retired. I don't need the job. I'm like some of these other people. I don't need the job. But like I said earlier, I got called back into service, back to duty, back to serve. I served all of y'all for 30 years, and I will serve you again. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're moving right along then to the Harris County Treasurers. Kyle Scott? Okay.
So, good evening. Thank you for excusing my tardiness this evening. I had a meet and greet before this and rushed right over here. So, my name's Kyle Scott. I'm running for Harris County Treasurer. If you want to know a little bit about what I'm going to do, you need to know a little bit about who I am and what I have done. Can you hear me now, Stan? Thank you. All right. So, first and foremost, I'm a man of faith. That doesn't make me a good person. That just means I'm pointed in the right direction. Second of all, I'm a father of 2 teenage children, which means I'm about half crazy. Third of all, I'm a husband of 21 years, which means I'm luckier than I deserve. So after college, I know, that's happy. So right after college, I spent it in the classroom teaching high school, which by default, when you teach high school in Texas, you become a coach, even though you've never played football in your life. So after realizing that there's no meaner creature on this planet than an 8th grade girl, I decided to go back and receive my PhD at the University of Houston. And I chased the tenure track position. And as you all know, conservatives don't fare too well in higher ed, so I returned back to Houston, where I was born and raised, and decided to go into my business. During the course of that, I did receive my MBA at Rice University, and I also was elected to the Board of Trustees for Lone Star College, where we fought for and protected every single taxpayer. And I will say that I'm happy to have the distinction of voting against more agenda items than any of the other trustees in the history of the college combined. Thank you. This included lowering your taxes. This included making sure that we had a AAA bond rating, reducing our debt service obligation, and not doing the things that schools shouldn't be doing, focusing on the nuts and bolts of those schools and making sure that the taxpayers received the exact benefit that they deserved. Now, when we look at the countywide race, we have a new challenge before us. In 2015, the county budget was $3 billion. Last year alone, it closed out at $7 billion. But you know what the court said? Doubling it in that amount of time wasn't enough. So we're going to spend $7.6 billion. Let me get this straight. Over the course of that time, doubling it was not enough. They decided to spend more, not only by taking money out of the toll roads, which they keep raising the rates so that they can say that they're not raising your taxes, but instead they're raising it in one area so they can deposit it into another. They've also defunded our constables to the tune of $20 million, and they've spent down our reserve fund. Now, it is the job and the duty of the treasurer to be the eyes and the ears of the taxpayer and to put a stop to this madness. It is the job of the treasurer to stand in the light of principle and to take bold, necessary action on behalf of the county, on behalf of the taxpayers, so that in November we turn it red and we keep it red in years to come. My name's Kyle Scott. I'm running for Harris County Treasurer. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is Eric Dick here?
Thank you, Sharon Hemphill. I was sorry to not see you on the ballot running for judge again. You would have been a fantastic judge had you won. I'm Eric Dick. I'm a native Houstonian. I'm a lawyer here. I'm really what I am is an old pizza driver that never gave up and became successful. I went to high school in Houston. I grew up rather poor. Went to community college. Went to University of Phoenix. And never really gave up. I became a lawyer. Practiced law. I got my master's from Alabama in tax. I'm finishing up an MBA at Rice. It took me 3 times to get in, but I never gave up, and I got in. I ran for office, I believe 4 years ago. I was elected to Harris County Department of Education. There I served as the vice president and the president. And there we reduced taxes every single year. We've turned $1 into $5 and have helped a lot of people in special education. I think we've done a good job. So here's what's before us. We've got an opportunity to take back the county. We really do. The Democrats have done such a bad job, they're actually mad at themselves. There's a little division. What's going on is, the constables, they're fighting between each other. The far left Democrats and kind of the moderate Democrats. We have an opportunity. The polling, what my political consultants say is the polling in Harris County is about 48 Republican, 52 Democrat, right? So here's how we win, because this is really, it doesn't matter. As treasurer, it's important, but I can only do so much if it's all Democrats. I could do so much more if all of us win. So we have to tell everybody we know to go vote in the Republican primary. We got to bring 2 or 3 people. Then after the runoff, we have to tell everyone we know to go back and vote in the runoff. Then what's most important, the very, very most important, come November, we go to the ballot with everybody we know that went and voted, and we vote Republican all the way down. That's how we take Harris County. That's how we win Harris County. There's contested races, which is fine. My opponent's a great guy. I'm not going to say anything mean about him. He's a good guy. But my question to you is, does he have what it takes to help push the county up? Does he have the notoriety that I do to get the votes, to get people to come out and vote? I'm going to push whether I'm in the runoff or not. We got to take back Harris County. It's too important. They waste money, $250 million they gave in 1 year for rent relief, which I'm not even, in theory that's nice, but there's so much more you could do. So many buildings you could build with $250 million. So many streets you could do. And all those create jobs. I'm tired of the reckless spending. I'm tired of just the government handouts. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. Let's take back Harris County. Let's go. Let's vote Republican. Let's tell everybody, vote Republican all the way down. I'm Eric Dick, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions? Who has a question? Okay. Response?
So, as treasurer, you're the bean counter. That's what you are, is the bean counter. You don't get to decide the budget. You don't. You only count the beans. There's a lot of different ways to count the beans. You could show what I do is I'd show this is where we're spending money. This is where we're making money back. This is where we're building these bridges. We're building these buildings. We're getting jobs. We're putting money out. We're getting money back. We're spending all this money on social programs. When I'm not dissing. People have different opinions, and I can respect that. But come on, $250 million on rent relief, and then going back and doing it again. That's 250,000. 250 million with an M. So to answer your question, if anybody says they could do anything as treasurer, it's just not true. You're just the bean counter. But you can show how them beans are being spent, and they aren't being spent very well.
So my guess is that you guys didn't think you would find two people this fiery running for Harris County Treasurer. I think primaries are important because I think distinctions are important, and I think that this is one place where my opponent and I can draw a distinction. I refuse to accept the status quo. Every check that leaves the county, every budget that the county approves has to carry the treasurer's signature. Don't sign. It's perhaps I get sued, perhaps I don't. There's disagreements, but this is what I mean by you stand in the light of principle. You refuse to accept the status quo, and you take the bold, needed action necessary to bring fiscal sanity back to this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I think Kyle's a great guy. I think the idea is a good idea. It's a fantastic idea. But I note I am an attorney, and I note I'm going to give you just kind of an example. There was a time whenever a same-sex marriage happened, and there was a push for the district clerk, for the county clerk, not to sign the marriage applications. Just say I'm not going to acknowledge these same-sex marriages. And the people that did, that didn't sign it, well, they got put in jail. They got removed from office. So if we were put in that situation, Kyle, that'd be if you won and you got elected, you'd hear me say, Kyle, that's a really bad idea. And the reason being is either you'd be put in jail or you'd just be removed from office. They'd hold you either in contempt or they'd just kick you right out, and the county commissioners would appoint a Democrat. So what you're saying is, this is why I disagree with you. And you'll learn along the way. But if you did that, basically you're saying, here, Democrats, take my spot. Go appoint my replacement. And I tell you, your replacement will have no problem signing whatever check they want. Doesn't matter. So a note, it's a bad idea. If you did do that, what would happen is you just give up your spot. And then you can't help anybody if you aren't there.
I'm not worried about who would replace me because I know that we're going to win in Precinct 2, we're going to win in Precinct 4, and we're going to win the county judge. So at the end of the day, if I stand on principle and do what's right, lock me up.
Well, if this didn't fire you up, I don't know what will. We have the greatest candidates. We want you all to be a part of our family. This is a family. And thank you all for coming. It's just been great. We love all the candidates. Please work for these candidates. That's what we're here for. We're on the precipice, and we have the greatest group of candidates. And thank you very much. Come back again, and be sure to thank our host, Ray. If you see him, he's wearing the apron. Thank you.